Janome.
Before we get started today, we're going to review the settings that will be suitable for any machine in the Janome line that has the sewing applications menu. So I'm going to grab my stylus so I can share that with you. We're on the M8 today, and it has an integrated Rulerwork setting. So how do I get to that setting? When you look at the screen right now, you'll see there's only a few stitches on the screen. Why is that? We already have the straight stitch throat plate on here, so it has grayed out any stitches that are not straight stitch. So when you see that, that means that you've already put that straight stitch plate on. And we do want that when we're doing quilting. If you have a straight stitch for your machine, you should be using that. It's definitely going to make your stitches look better. On this machine, as you walk along, these are tabs right here, and we want you to select the T-shirt tab. That is going to bring us into the sewing applications menu. So you have sewing applications, and again, they've grayed out ones that we cannot do with the straight stitch plate. This right here, the heart and feathers, is the quilting tab. And then this tab here is special optional feet that are not included. So we're going to go to this quilting tab, and you'll see right there it says Rulerwork, and that's what we're doing. So I want you to select that tab. Now, I'm going to explain medium and light really quickly. This is the settings tab. So I'm going to open the settings tab, and this icon right here with the little foot and the arrow, in medium, the default setting is 2.5 millimeters, and what that is the height of the foot above the bed of the machine. How high up is the foot? So I'm going to quickly just close that, and I'm going to show you if we were on light, the default setting is 1.5 millimeters. So those are great positions to get you started. If I have a thick batting, I need the foot to be higher. So I'm going to choose the medium setting. And if my batting is really, really thin, then I want to use that light setting. But you can always go into this settings menu for either of those choices and raise and lower the foot to give you the proper height for your quilt sandwich. How do you know what is the proper height? If you have your foot on the fabric, then you should be able to move your fabric without any obstruction, right? That's the proper height. You want the foot as low as it could go and not prevent you from having any movement challenges, right? If the foot is pushing down so hard you can't move, it's too low. And if it's up really high, it's going to pick up the fabric with the needle, bring it up to the foot, and knock it off each time. And every time it does that, it's interrupting that thread pattern. So it's going to cause shredding, breakage of your thread, and poor stitch quality. So when you go in for Rulerwork, the very first thing that you want to do is put your fabric sandwich underneath the foot and check the height of the foot. So when I was doing mine, I was checking, and my setting was 1.8, and that worked for the quilt sandwich that I was using. Okay, so then this is all set up. I'm going to close that. Now, we have the accurate stitch regulator already installed on this machine for sewing. So what's really important is we need to make sure that our accurate stitch regulator settings are properly selected. In order to turn that on, I need to make sure that I select the button. You can see right away that it changes colors and it's highlighted. So now the accurate stitch regulator is selected. If I have the accurate stitch regulator plugged into the machine and I don't turn that on, the machine will squawk at me and say, do you have the proper settings? So make sure that you turn it on. And one more very important setting that you want to do is when you're using the regulator, the speed slider bar has to be all the way to the highest speed. If you don't have the speed all the way up, it's essentially like you're putting the brakes on the regulator. So you need to make sure that you have it all the way up as fast as it can go, and then it will perform better. If it feels kind of sluggish, then that's where you want to definitely check that you have the speed all the way up, because then it feels like you're fighting with the regulator if you don't have your speed all the way up. So here, in our Rulerwork setting, we've adjusted the height of the foot to match the fabric. You do that with every quilt sandwich, not just one time, but every different quilt. Check that you're having the proper foot settings. Otherwise, that's when you have problems. and then we've turned our regulator on. We have one stitch pickup, which lets us pick up our bobbin. You can see that there's a single dot here on the screen. So if I were to press the foot control, it's going to take one single stitch, and that allows me to draw my bobbin up to the top. And then after I do that, you'll see that it will now go to 3 dots, and then it will sew continuously. So that one stitch pickup, that is a quilting feature that allows you to pick up your bobbin. As a last tip, if you're in ruler work, I never want to have my foot lift up when the ruler is against the foot. So I want you to make sure that you don't turn on this pivot feature while you're working, and I do always like to work with needle down. So these are the settings that I'm recommending as you're working with ruler work when you're setting up your machine for sewing applications.